Dave Ramsey says the 4% rule is ridiculous and you could just withdraw 8% on your retirement fund and live indefinitely. And I kind of want to disagree with all of that. 2 months ago, we did a video right here on the channel analyzing the fact that he said all this stuff in regards to a caller, kind of blast his co-host George Camel. I'll link that video down below. This video though is I want to go a little bit more in detail on that because here on this channel, we want to focus on financial independence. And that means having control over your portfolio, having a control over your financial life that you live in peace. But what was very interesting to me is the fact that Dave says, hey, with mutual funds growing at an average of 12% per year, and also you could withdraw 8% of your portfolio. You could live almost lavishly. And I want to challenge that because I think what Dave is actually focused on is the average retirement age in America, which is the age of 65. Here's the issue. If you want to retire before the age of 65, what's the option? And furthermore than that, here on this channel, we focus on financial independence, that we have control earlier than that. You may not want to retire early. Some people do. And that means we're retiring well before 65. We're talking 50, 40, 30. And here is how it works. And I want to put Dave's 8% rule to the challenge and show you with my spreadsheets. Let's get right to the point. We need to first identify what our phi number is. Now, if you already know how to do this, great. If you don't, here's what you want to do. You want to analyze what your expenses are going to be when you only live off of your investments. Figure out what your average monthly expenses are. So let's say we need, on average, $6,000 a month to survive. We're going to multiply that by 12 months in a year, which gives us a total of $72,000 we need to live in the future when we become financially independent. Take that number, that $72,000, and we're going to multiply it by 25. That gives us a total of $1,800,000 in our portfolio. That's how much money we need to build up to in order to live off of the 4% rule. So right here is the spreadsheet. First of all, our starting portfolio balance is $1.8 million as we just explored. Withdrawal at 4%, market growth rate at 7%, and the average inflation at 3%. We can adjust these numbers if we want, but the key is we need to focus on what actually happens in the market. See, when you get shifted into retirement, you got to be careful about the fact that if you're only going to live off of your financial independence portfolio, to assume you're going to get a 12% return every single year, as Dave mentioned, I think that's a little bit too wild. Because think about it this way. You go through a time like 9/11 or 2008 or 2020, you got to be able to weather those storms. And if you're projecting an incredible market return rate, you're going to think you're just living the life. And then something bad happens and you're not prepared for it. See, I'd rather be like super cautious. And then if things are great, that's a cherry on the top. But if things aren't so great, I want to be ready and be bulletproof to anything that may happen. But Dave is saying to withdraw 8%. So let's plug in his numbers first with just that withdrawal rate. Now we can see here with the 4% rule, we begin at 1.8 million. Our first year, we take out $72,000 per year, which gives us that monthly income of $6,000. The next year, we're going to pull out $74,160. The reason for that is we account for the 3% inflation. You're going to continue to increase your income every year to keep up with the average inflation, which means how will your portfolio grow or die over the next couple years? The beauty of this particular plugin is if you can stay committed to that withdrawal amount that grows with inflation and you live modestly, you live happily, your money doesn't run out. In fact, it continues to grow and you leave money to those you leave behind. But let's live like Dave lives at an 8% withdrawal rate. Now, first of all, you're going to get a lot of money here. You're going to get $12,000 a month if you assume that you built a portfolio of $1.8 million. But look what happens. By the age of 65, you're in the negative. You're running out of money and you cannot survive. But let's also plug in the fact that he says he can get his mutual funds to 11.8%. So if you have like an average of a 12% return rate, sure, your money's going to last the whole time, but it does run out earlier than the 4% rule at the age of 99. And I want you to live the longest, healthiest life possible. So I think we need to be serious about the conservatism of what we're pulling out of our portfolio. The other thing that both this calculator as well as Dave Ramsey doesn't account for is real life. See, here's what we're looking at in this particular example. We can plug in this beautiful rate of 4%, and we can assume a 7% average rate of return with average inflation of 3%. And look, everything looks dandy. Your money grows. You can continue to grow with inflation as far as your withdrawal amount. I mean, that's the ultimate dream. This is amazing. You're living off of only your money, and that means you don't need a job. You don't need to, you're just living the dream. But the dream is just that, a dream. What if we plug in Dave Ramsey's numbers, and we'll even plug in my numbers, to the real deal? What actually happened? And I'm going to show you the worst case scenario that's close to where we are here today. And that is the period between 2001 and here in 2024. And think about what happened. We had the 9/11 attack that basically brought down the portfolio in the stock market. We had 2008, 2009 financial crisis. We had COVID. We had all these things happen that impacted our portfolio. Can it survive in the realism? We're going to maintain a 4% withdrawal rate, but we're going to actually, instead of doing this 7%, 12%, we're going to look at the actual return right here of the stock market and the actual inflation that we encountered. Let's see what happens with the 4% rule. So in 2001, you started at the 1.8 million. Life is good. You withdraw your 72,000, onward you go. But in that first year in 2001, the market crapped on us and returned negative 19.62%, meaning that's a big punch in the face, isn't it? $339,000 down on your portfolio, on top of the fact that you withdrew $72,000. What a terrible year. Meaning in 2002, your balance went from 1.8 million to 1.3. Now, you spent your entire working life building up to this 1.8, and your first year of retirement totally slapped you in the face. This is realistic, guys. This we need to consider. When you retire, whether you retire at an early age or an older age, it doesn't matter. We need to be prepared and look at this seriously, because if this happens, we need to be feeling okay with it and knowing that this could happen. You could retire on the worst year and not even know things were about to happen. You could retire on a great year, in which case nothing really matters. But let's focus on the most scariest pieces of this entire scenario. So now you're down. 2002 doesn't do any better. It isn't as bad, but it returned a negative 3.04% or down $40,000 on your portfolio. Here we are again. Have a look at this. In 2009, the rate of return of the stock market was negative 30.72%. And see, if you had most of your investments tied up in stocks in the US stock market and not tied up in bonds to balance yourself out, your portfolio dropped 30.72%, which means $387,000 down. You are no longer a millionaire either. It now dropped your portfolio to $874,000. So it works in this case, but there's some scary periods in there where you're withdrawing money, but your portfolio is looking kind of scary. And remember, when you're in those moments, when you're in the year of 2010 and 2011, you're thinking, oh my gosh, is this the end of it all? Is this ever going to recover? Am I totally screwed and going back to work? And in which case, you're probably getting that little cute apron on and getting ready to be the Walmart grocery greeter. You know who you are, and that's tough. And we don't want to have to do that unless we're passionate about doing that. You get what I'm saying? What happens if we plug in Dave Ramsey's 8% withdrawal? If we plug in the 8% using the realistic numbers here, that's where I have a concern. Have a look at this. Same returns, same inflation. You run out of money in the year of 2012, thanks to the great financial crisis. Somebody could argue, though, well, that's kind of extreme, the great financial crisis, the 9/11. You're kind of getting a little bit extreme here with these numbers, are you not? But don't you want to plan for that? We don't want another great financial crisis. We don't want another 9/11. We don't want another COVID, but things happen. I grew up on Dave Ramsey. I followed the Dave Ramsey plan. So I'm not here to completely bash him. I'm here to more or less say, where are we with the graduation course on this? So Dave Ramsey's baby steps gets you from getting out of debt, maybe starting your investments, things like that, paying off your house. But then what happens after that? There needs to be like a graduation course. There needs to be, what do I do with my money for real? And how do I live off of that money? And how do I actually thrive under this amazing wealth, financial control of financial independence? And that's what I'm hoping to bring to you right here on this channel. By the way, all these spreadsheets, I am going to be starting a Patreon, linked in the description below if you want to check it out. What are your thoughts on the Dave Ramsey 8% rule? Drop me a comment down below. Let me know your thoughts. Check out this video next, and we'll see you on the next video.